If you do anything wrong in your life, and I find out about it, I'm gonna try to take everything away from you. And I don't care what I find.
Have you ever wondered how a single moment can undo an image that took decades to build? That question became impossible to ignore on the night Will Smith walked onto the Oscars stage and slapped Chris Rock. At first, many people assumed it would fade like most viral controversies. A shocking clip, a few days of headlines, and then silence as Hollywood moved on. But that isn't what happened. Instead, that moment grew into something far larger, more complex, and far more uncomfortable than anyone expected. Nearly 3 years later, the incident hasn't disappeared. If anything, it has become louder, more dissected, and more symbolic of deeper issues within the entertainment industry. And when voices like Dave Chappelle and Katt entered the conversation, they ensured the moment would never simply be forgotten. What started as a single act of anger slowly transformed into a broader discussion about power, reputation, pressure, and the hidden rules of Hollywood. It also forced people to ask an uncomfortable question. Was that slap just a mistake, or was it the moment Will Smith's carefully crafted image finally cracked? Before that night, Will Smith wasn't just a successful actor. He was one of the most universally liked figures in entertainment. For over 30 years, he maintained a reputation that seemed almost untouchable. He was the charismatic star of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the action hero leading billion-dollar blockbusters, and the family man audiences trusted. Studios relied on him, fans admired him, and his name alone could carry a film. Very few celebrities have ever managed to sustain such a polished and consistent public image for so long. But on March 27, 2022, during the Academy Awards, that image was shaken in seconds. While presenting an award, Chris Rock made a brief joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, referencing the film G.I. Jane. It was a quick remark, less than 5 seconds, and initially, Will Smith appeared to laugh. But something shifted almost instantly. Moments later, in front of millions of viewers watching live across the globe, Will Smith stood up, walked onto the stage, and struck Chris Rock across the face. The sound echoed through the theater. For a brief second, confusion filled the room. Was this scripted? Was it part of the show? It quickly became clear that it wasn't. What happened next stunned audiences even more. Despite the incident unfolding on live television, there was no immediate intervention. No one escorted Will Smith out. The ceremony continued. And then, less than an hour later, he returned to the same stage to accept the award for Best Actor, and received a standing ovation. That moment, perhaps even more than the slap itself, changed everything. For comedians around the world, the message felt deeply unsettling. Stand-up comedy has always operated under an unspoken rule. You may dislike the joke, you may disagree with the comedian, but you never go on stage and physically confront them. That boundary existed to protect performers whose work depends on free expression in front of unpredictable audiences. But in that instant, many felt that boundary had been broken in the most public way possible. In the days that followed, comedians spoke out. Some called the incident embarrassing. Others warned it could set a dangerous precedent. Because when millions watch a global icon respond to a joke with violence, and then see that same person applauded, it sends a message. A message that anger can justify action. A message that the stage may no longer be a safe space for performers. Within weeks, those fears began to feel real. During a performance at the Hollywood Bowl, Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage by an audience member who rushed him mid-set. The attacker was quickly restrained, but the moment sent shockwaves through the comedy world. What had once seemed like a theoretical concern now felt immediate and tangible. Yet Chappelle's response was unexpected. Instead of retreating or reacting with fear, he leaned into what comedians do best, turning discomfort into reflection through humor. Days later, he appeared on stage again, joined by Chris Rock. Both men had experienced physical confrontations within a short span of time, and instead of responding with anger, they used comedy to process it. The audience laughed, but beneath the humor was a clear message. Comedians respond to chaos with words, not violence. Chappelle also offered a deeper perspective. He suggested the Oscars incident wasn't just about one joke or one emotional reaction. In his view, it reflected something much more complex. The pressure of maintaining a flawless public image for decades. Will Smith, he argued, had spent most of his career embodying the ideal celebrity: charming, positive, and widely admired. But that image required constant effort. And in one unguarded moment, it shattered. Chappelle described it as the mask slipping, revealing the human being behind the persona. Not just anger, but years of pressure, expectation, and internal tension surfacing all at once. While Chappelle approached the situation with reflection, Katt Williams brought a different energy entirely. When he addressed the incident, he didn't just focus on Will Smith. He questioned the entire system around him. In interviews, including his widely discussed appearance on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Williams spoke about how Hollywood operates behind the scenes. According to him, the industry doesn't simply discover talent. It constructs narratives, builds personas, and controls visibility. From that perspective, Will Smith wasn't just an actor who lost control. He was one of the most carefully manufactured images Hollywood had ever created. For decades, audiences saw a version of him that felt perfectly balanced. Funny but safe, confident but approachable, successful yet relatable. But maintaining that kind of image comes with pressure. And when reality and perception begin to diverge, something eventually gives. According to many comedians, the Oscars moment exposed that tension. And once exposed, it couldn't be fully hidden again. Williams also suggested that Hollywood protects its biggest stars until it can't. Once the illusion cracks, public perception shifts, and everything is re-examined through a different lens. At the same time, Will Smith's career had already been evolving. The era when a single movie star could dominate the box office was changing. Franchises, streaming platforms, and cinematic universes were reshaping the industry. While Smith remained respected and successful, the unstoppable momentum of his earlier years had begun to slow. Ironically, King Richard, the film that earned him an Academy Award, became inseparable from the controversy. Instead of being remembered solely for his performance, the victory became tied to the moment that overshadowed it. In the aftermath, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences banned Will Smith from attending the Oscars for 10 years. Some of his projects were delayed or quietly shelved. Meanwhile, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and Katt Williams continued doing what they do best: speaking openly, often uncomfortably, about the situation. Chris Rock eventually addressed the incident directly in his Netflix special Selective Outrage, turning a painful experience into a defining comedic moment. Chappelle explored the psychological weight of fame and public scrutiny. Williams continued challenging the broader system behind celebrity culture. Together, their perspectives kept the conversation alive long after most scandals would have faded. So now, the question isn't whether Will Smith's career is over. Realistically, it isn't. He still has influence, resources, and a loyal fan base. Hollywood has seen many comebacks, and it's entirely possible he will rebuild his reputation over time. But something did change, and it may never fully return to what it once was. For decades, Will Smith represented consistency, likability, and control. But in one globally broadcast moment, that image cracked in a way no public relations strategy could instantly repair. As Chappelle suggested, once the mask slips, people can't completely forget what they've seen. That is why the Oscars incident still matters. Not just because of the slap itself, but because of what it revealed about fame, pressure, identity, and the cost of maintaining perfection in public for decades. One night didn't end a career, but it permanently changed the way people view it. Now the conversation continues. Do you think Will Smith can fully rebuild his reputation? Or will that moment always follow him?